right, so I will record this stuff so people can watch it later. If you don't want to be recorded or you don't want to show up in the recording, just let me know and I can cut you out. No problem with that. Yeah, so my name's Cameron. I work here at Letta. I do developer relations here, so this is my job. So I figured I would just kind of give everybody like a handful of announcements and kind of changes and everything that's going on under the hood, and then I can answer questions or kind of check up on status of various features and things like that. So let me see here. Let me pull up my notes. So the AI SDK is if people know this, it's Vercel's. Vercel has written this kind of general purpose user interface style thing to various language models or AI providers or agents or whatever, and we have a V4 implementation, which is the previous version, and then Vercel maybe 2 or 3 months ago released V5, and so we have all the code written to use V5, but we're pending approval with Vercel to get AI V5 working. So if you're a person who is using the Vercel AI SDK, I think you actually can use the provider on our GitHub repo. I think we've upgraded it, but it won't be Vercel native. You won't see the docs there or anything like that. So they're very, very, very slow to respond to pull requests, probably because they're enormous and don't care about us. So that's a thing that exists. Here is one. So I posted. Actually, hold on. Let me see if I can drag it up in the chat. I wanted. Where did I put it? Okay, I put a meme up. Oh shoot, where did it go? Okay, hold on. I promise this will be worth it. Okay, all right. I put a meme in our little channel here, so I put it in the chat. But the number of times I get requests for voice mode, real-time voice, low latency voice, all the time, and my response has normally been it's broken, I'm sorry, I don't really understand how it works, blah blah blah. And the reason for this is that we deprecated an internal endpoint because it fell outside of the general flow of how everything kind of currently works and is supposed to work inside of Letta. So there was a voice beta endpoint that existed on your Letta server that doesn't work anymore. So you probably run into several bugs about there's something where it unexpected keyword argument, run manager or whatever. So what we're doing is fixing this in a much more general way. And the way that we're fixing this is by adding a general purpose chat completions endpoint to your Letta agents. And what that means is you will be able to call my understanding is that you will be able to call your Letta agents in the exact same way that you would using the OpenAI client or whatever, right? So this will general purpose-ize your agent. And the thing that this allows in voice world is if you use Vappy, for example, Vappy, I don't know, whatever, Vappy, it's so stupid to say. You will just be able to provide the completions endpoint for your Letta agent and then change the model to whatever your agent ID is, and then you can just get real-time voice. Is there a llms.txt for docs? Yes, just go to docs.letta.com/llms.txt. Anytime you're trying to do llms.txt, you can just append it to the end of any of your docs. Most documentation providers will support this, so you can just go do that. There's also a copy as markdown button on any document page in case you want to convert it to markdown. You should know for llms.txt that Fern, who is our documentation provider, is fine. And llms.txt does not function for the API reference. So if you're working with the API reference, you need to send Claude Code either the URL or go to that page and hit copy page as markdown to get the raw code, because Fern is a little clunky when it comes to docs. So The general purpose completion should be very valuable for lots of people who just want to like drop their agents in anywhere as if it was like a normal language model. So that should solve a lot of issues. Yeah. And then that will give people real-time voice. So we can find another thing to add, because I know people really like voice. Let's see. What else did I have in my notes? There is a new message viewer. Let me go pull it up here. I think people should be seeing this now, but I'm not sure. Let me share my screen here. Yeah, okay, so when you're in your message viewer here, I'm just going to go... Yeah, this is... I've also updated our deep research agent, so if you go to the template, that should show up soon. I think we have to do a core deploy, but I've like massively overhauled how well it works. So, but what you're seeing here is the new runs viewer. So previously the message view, like this thing here in the middle, hey, say hi to the Discord people, was like just kind of like a bunch of messages, and we've overhauled it such that it's more consistent with how we think about runs. And we've shifted to this like kind of runs structure for how agents work. So you send it a request, and then that initiates a run where it's like a series of messages that are initiated by the original user message. And so that includes like assistant messages, tool calls, and then tool results. And then you have more assistant messages and web search and stuff like that. So this is the agent is just like kind of continuing along. So you should start seeing this setup inside of your message viewer. Yes, Toria notes adding .md. Oh, that's great. That's way better than using the LLMs.txt. Okay, yeah, add .md. Perfect. So yeah, the new runs viewer, please give us feedback and stuff on that. So let us know. Let us know what you think. There it is. Yeah, the research agent, I asked it if it thought Letta was cool, and it said it's genuinely cool. And then it gave a big printout here. So it's still going. So the deep research agent should be a lot better. This deep research agent is also actually running on Claude Haiku 4.5, which, if you didn't know, that came out yesterday. It's now available on Letta Cloud. You should probably also see it on self-hosted. And it's very fast. It's pretty good. I have like no obvious notes about Haiku being terrible. But yeah, I'm a fan if you want cheaper models. Let's see. How is it with tool calls? Honestly, it's great. Like, Haiku does really, really good with tool calls. It also uses the memory tool pretty well. So the memory, like, Omni tool that we, like, kind of, like, stole from Anthropic. Haiku also seems to have been post-trained on it. So if you're a person who really likes the memory tool, like I do, then Haiku is great at it. So it's like a cheap way to get kind of fast stuff from them. Let's see. Yeah. All right. There's just been a lot of improvements in like exception handling. So we're basically just kind of doing an overhaul to make it a lot easier for you to actually see what errors are actually happening. So you'll start noticing, like, I don't think this is in general access yet, but it should be soon, is like you will see the actual exception that you got with much more information about why it was that an agent failed or a run failed or whatever. So that should be like, you should get much more like visual feedback. And so I think that should help everyone. And of course there's been like general stability improvements and things like that, bug fixes and, you know. Let's see. Letta Desktop, I think we should provide an update on. Letta Desktop has been having, like, it's a complicated thing to build. and we've been focusing more on like kind of core stability components. So the thing that is probably going to happen with Letta Desktop, at least for right now, is that the embedded server that goes inside of Letta Desktop will be either for now at least, be temporarily removed. And what that means is you'll have a much smaller binary, and your desktop will look something more like Desktop Lite. It'll basically be like kind of a local version of the ADE that you can use to connect to your remote server. And I believe we're going to add ability to connect to Letta Cloud. So, but I don't know the status of Letta Cloud. So that's in various degrees of, that's like functional now. It has some visual bugs that Shub is on, but that should be coming out soon, trademark. Let's see. What are other things we should mention? Yes, very soon, says Charles. And then, yeah. There's also just been like a ton of improvements to the documentation, because I know our documentation could be like much improved. So I'm starting to add examples and things like that. So if you go check out, here we go. If you go to the examples page here, you'll start seeing stuff like your first agent. So there's a hello world example. And then I have a guide that's about just like how to attach and detach memory blocks. And then I have like one that's about shared memory blocks and how you can use them as like a multi-agent coordination system. So there's just going to be like a lot of like much simpler like cookbook style things that are just like super quick, one concept, a few lines of code. So it's important to get those out for people so that they can understand use better. So if you have holes in the documentation where you're like, I don't really know what you're trying to say, please send me a message and I will add it to my to-do list of things to fix. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah. So I think I'll like kind of turn the floor open to general questions, or if people want to share what they're working on, things like that. Yeah, go ahead. Any new multi-agent features coming? Yeah, so the swarm pattern, like, I see that, like, swarm pattern thing in there. That needs to go away because, like, you can implement that now. Like, we don't have the thing, and I will write an example on how to do this. But if you want some kind of a swarm pattern, one, you need to decide what it is that you're trying to accomplish with that multi-agent system, right? So actually provide a purpose. And I haven't really run into a lot of cases where swarm patterns are like actually useful, but I'm open to suggestions. But what you should do is just attach some number of memory blocks to all of the agents in your swarm. That's just a shared memory block system. There is a standing bug that is happening with the new Letta v1 agent architecture that makes it so that they do not seem to be responding to agent direct messages. But for the most part, most multi-agent systems that you have in mind are already implementable. There are like syntactic sugar things where like the groups SDK needs to be improved. But you should be able to implement what exists, essentially. Let's see. New robotics models from Google this week. When's the next Letta version bug coming out that will make them show up on the model selector? Oh, that's a good question. I didn't know. We could maybe add those. I don't know how well they work. What is the... actually, Mark, I don't know if you can, like... that's like tool use? Do they use robotics tools? I know that Mark is doing like robotics. He does like embedded language models. So I think it's like, I definitely think we should set that up for Mark if it's possible, and if it doesn't like break stuff. Because if it's just like a standard language model with like better tool calling for robotics and like particular like multimodal, I don't know exactly what goes into the models. Evolution AI had a question about what is the easiest way to plug a Letta agent into a custom Next.js app. Oh wait. There we go. I have an example here. Oh wait. Yeah, Letta chatbot template here. So if you go here, this is one of the quick ways to do chatbot example. You should also consider using our AI SDK. AI SDK. Oh, actually, the example that I posted uses the Letta AI SDK. That's probably going to be the quickest way to get it running inside of a Next.js application. But honestly, like, you can do it pretty easily manually if you just use the SDK, right? It's like use the list messages endpoint to get historical messages. Use message create to send a message to the agent when someone types something in. And then if you are going to roll it locally with your own stuff, I would recommend checking out the streaming guide to see how to like generate images or messages as they come in. And then there is, I would also look at message types so that you can make your client application handle different message types differently. So for example, when you get an assistant message, that's like, you treat that as like a normal block inside of Claude. When you get a tool call message, you start streaming it as like, your agent is calling web search. So both of those, you know, you can either do it the raw Letta way, which I've done several times, and don't find to be, like, I think it's fine. It's easy enough to do. The SDK is like pretty simple. If you're going to do the AI SDK v5, then check out our chatbot example. That, you know, is more general purpose, and you can kind of change the underlying model if you really want to. But it's much less powerful than just using the Letta SDK directly. Let's see. When you say it's the same as subagents, does that, Flonster said, when you say it's the same as subagents, does that include the underlying logic for conversation flow? I'm not sure I understand that question. You might have to add a little more to that. But perhaps Charles understands that question. Who knows? Is the send message to agent async tool needed anymore? Or is send message to agent and wait for reply enough for multi-agent? On Letta Cloud, we do not permit the async tool because it's not rate limited when you use the existing tool, and so it was causing like massive server crashes. So we will probably add that back in once we change the way that it's implemented. But you can either do send message to agent and wait for reply. I think personally that's sufficient for me. Or just using external handlers, depending on whether you need it to interface with you. You can also just like manually send messages in like some kind of a Python script, but also just wait for reply is the one you should probably use. Yeah, the async tool, I actually like the async tool, but I for like longer running responses, but it does have this like weird vibe where it kind of like breaks up the agent conversation in a strange way. So if there's a lot of async calls, then it just like your agent could kind of get confused unless there's like a lot of context in the responses. So yeah, wait for reply is probably good enough. I used to use the async messaging a lot before, but that has like since changed. I mostly actually do most multi-agent stuff externally. I don't usually have agents like message each other directly, just because I can have like more control and I know exactly. Usually, I know how I want the agents to communicate. But yeah, that's also partly because like the async stuff is like just we disabled it on cloud because that's a bad idea. I think it's still available and self-hosted. Is that right? So let's see. Yeah, still not self-hosted. Okay. Use at your own risk, indeed. Will swarm patterns still be supported? I mean, yeah. Like the, swarm pattern is like, Letta is like a general purpose memory architecture, right? So like, it depends on what you mean by swarm, right? So if your swarm is like, if you have 100 agents with the same tag and then you just send all of those 100 agents a message, that is a swarm pattern, right? Like it's just like many sub-agents. And so any way that you can like the swarm pattern thing on the doc is nonsense because there's no guide. We don't explain what that means and we provide no information. Like swarm pattern is like just an implementation detail, right? Like it is, multi-agent systems are extremely flexible. And the way that you should think of a swarm pattern is like, can you tell me what the original articulation by OpenAI is? Because in my view, like swarm patterns are like extremely general, right? It's like any number of sub-agents that seem to have more or less the same structure. In Letta, they can be unified by shared memory blocks. They don't have to be. You can message them using the same tag. Right there, swarm pattern being supported just means that Letta exists, right? Like by its nature, it supports swarm patterns. Yeah. There's several Discord says several people are typing, which is always a problem. Okay. Are there plans of having an agent having the ability to support multiple human blocks for different users? Yeah, that exists. Like, there's nothing stopping you from doing that right now. I do this on, like, Void, for example, has, like, thousands of memory blocks. You can just add multiple memory blocks and just say, this is human Alice, right? Like, memory blocks are super pluggable, right? You pick any kind of block that you want, and your agent will just start putting information into that block. If you have many, many users, then you need to have some kind of dynamic memory management. And I do this in a handler script in Python. So if I know that the agent is talking to user Alice and Bob, I will attach the human blocks for Alice and Bob. But it's just, that's just, you just add those blocks and your agent will understand where to put information. And you may have to help prompt it. Hyuka says, what do we think about the Claude desktop memory feature? Is this the thing where they do it basically just do like conversation search and I think because I know that's on Claude, like on the main page. I didn't know if there's a different thing for Claude desktop. I have tried it. It was fine. Like I didn't, it's more of like a RAG thing, at least from my experience with what it was on the main page. Yeah, so it's like a chat search thing. I think if that's the one I remember, which is different, right? That's like if your agent only had conversation search, but across all of your chats on Claude, which I don't know. Like, I think it doesn't handle state, right? Like that's the big thing that differentiates Letta agents is that they are stateful, right? They have a persistent form of memory. They're not just doing recall on different chats, basically. I'm curious what other people think, though, if people have enjoyed it, and also whether people like ChatGPT's memory, because ChatGPT's memory is like relatively simple as well. Mistral actually also has like kind of an interesting memory thing. Like it does updates across different memories. I think it's still like a little like it's not like Letta tier memory, but I think Mistral is like definitely kind of like starting to pay attention to the fact that like memory is important. I mean, everybody is, but I just think that we do it the best. Let's see. Evolution AI says, I've never built anything with Letta. I've used Mastra, Pydantic, etc. I do all coding with Claude Code. Recently discovered Letta on YouTube. Hell yeah, it's working. YouTube is working. And I want to hear more about memory. So far, I've been unable to achieve the truly stateful feeling agent that proactively injects memory into the conversation. Can you speak about Letta memory and how it might excel compared to other frameworks? Okay, that's a big question. When you say unable to achieve a truly stateful feeling agent, you don't mean in Letta. You mean in like Claude or something else, is my understanding of that question. If that's the case, then you are not getting the experience of a stateful agent because they are not designed to be stateful. Letta agents are designed, the way that we architect the system and the way that we handle the structure of your context window is to allow your agent to provide, have access to good tools to make it so that it feels stateful. And if you start tinkering with Letta, go load up Sonnet 4.5 or Haiku or whatever. Give it the memory tool. You click the little tools tab when you create a new agent, and then add tool, base tools, and then memory. We have a YouTube video on how to do this as well. And then just say, create a block to track information about me. Create a block to track information about your personality. And then you can ask it to add blocks for anything else new. And if you notice that your agent is not proactively storing information, you can add a policies block or a memory policies block or something like that. And you say okay, anytime you notice, can you please update your policies block so that you are more proactive about the information that you store? And that will probably get you a long ways towards making your agent much more proactive about managing the things that it knows. As far as I know, Letta agents are really the only ones that are good at this meaningful proactive state management. I haven't really seen this too many other places, but you have to play with it and just kind of sit down and talk to it. And a lot of the YouTube videos I have are about proactive memory management and setting it up. So if you go check out, there's also one that's about archival memory that I have in there. That agent is actually very good at managing its own memory proactively. And it's like a conversation with me and the agent about what types of information it should store. Torian says, memory in ChatGPT is peach emoji. And I'll let you infer what that means. Let's see. Case I'm planning to set up... this is Karthik's question. Case I'm planning to set up a chatbot integrated with Slack built by Letta, such that this will communicate to a couple of MCP servers. In this case, Arch was built in AWS. What would you suggest? You could have an API layer which Slack communicates exposed by Lambda, which could be a better setup for Letta client and server. I'm not totally sure what your question is, Karthik. I think my understanding of your question is that you have a Letta chatbot and you want to connect it to Slack. Presumably that means receiving notifications and then sending messages to your channel. I would just recommend using an MCP server that you can access. Usually Pipedream has, Pipedream and Composio all have ways to talk to Slack channels. You can use Zapier, has a very good MCP server. If you want to send notifications to your agent, Zapier has a good workflow, and we also have an N8N node where you can just look for notifications and then forward that on to your agent. And then give it a MCP tool to allow it to respond in Slack if it wants to. I don't know if that answered your question, Karthik, but let me know if there's more information I can provide. Sid had a question about... Hold on, I need to drink water because I'm dying. Give me a second. All right. Sid had a question about the Letta and Obsidian integration for automating personal knowledge management systems. Any good reference SE cool developments? The last big change in Obsidian is that it now just syncs whatever you're looking at, whatever note you're looking at, to the agent that you are connected to. So your agent will always have a memory block that is roughly synced within 3 to 5 seconds or something of whatever's on the left, whatever's in your node. And So it has like a much smaller scope than it used to. There was some issues with human in the loop approval that was preventing me from adding the ability for the agent to propose new notes. That has since been fixed, and I need to just go back and re-implement it. And that would allow you to just like ask your agent, like, "Hey, can you write a note that like tells me everything that I know about X, Y, and Z?" There's I have a branch of code for the Obsidian plugin that is not very good, that allows you to do manual context management. So, for example, you can like at a note in the same way that you would with Cursor and include it in your agent's memory. The problems are mostly on the UI side, not on the Letta side, because like front end is really hard and I'm bad at it. So, but that exists. I just need to like actually kind of make it functional. So, yeah, I have stuff to do on the Obsidian plugin, but mostly I've massively simplified it. It should feel much simpler and cleaner, and just kind of, better. Zeus says, as Cameron says, talk to it as if it were your own robot. Yeah, this is a general point that I make when I'm telling people how to build stateful agents. Think of it as a coworker or a friend or someone where you just have a conversation. If you notice that it's doing something wrong, say, "Hey, can you update your memory block? I noticed that you did this, and I don't want you to do that anymore. What would you add to your memory block to make it so that you do this again in the future?" And that includes like being proactive and making sure it understands what to track and all that stuff. So communicate your expectations to your agent, and it will get good at managing them if it starts tracking that information in its memory blocks. Sucrete has a question here. Can I force a Letta v1 agent along with sleep time agents attached so that I can delegate tasks to sleep sub agents while keeping my v1 agent as the orchestrator? So that I can delegate tasks to sub agents. I'm not sure what you may have to clarify what the sleep time component in there means. Like, can you force a Letta v1 agent to delegate to other agents? I think so. Or you want the sleep time agent for the primary to delegate to sub agents. In which case, yeah, you can totally do that, right? Like, you just give your sleep time agent multi-agent tools and then have them send messages to sub agents to do stuff. I think that's very reasonable. I'm sure people have tried that. I haven't. I'd be interested to know what that looks for you. Go tinker with that and see how well it works, because that's cool. That's a cool application of sleep time, right? I think a lot of the way that we talk about sleep time is that agents, sleep time agents, are responsible for memory updates. That doesn't have to be the case, right? They can do anything, right? They can send messages, they can message you on Telegram, send you emails, all that stuff. They can just be much more proactive about doing things while your primary agent is running behind the scenes. So play around with that and let us know. That would be cool. I would love to see if you can have a multi-agent setup where you use your sleep time to delegate, if I understood your question correctly. Do I need to set enable sleep time as true? It's flagged as experimental a little bit because there have been some transition issues between going from the previous architecture to Letta v1. It should work fine. You should have kind of no issues with using sleep time now on the v1 agents. And I think you can modify your agent using the modify endpoint. Just say enable sleep time equals true, and that will create a new sub agent for your current primary agent if it does not already have a sleep time agent. Mark noted that he has a GitHub repo there about helping to differentiate agent between team members, which is cool. I like that. How much does memory can scale? Do you think it could handle thousands of entities? Well, this is a slightly bigger question. If you have 10,000 memory blocks and they all have 5,000 tokens in them, you better have a big model. you are limited by what can go inside of the context window, right? Like, Letta is like fundamentally context engineering tool. And so we can make it easy for you to like have a principled way of describing what actually goes into that context window. If, you still have to be intelligent about what goes into the context window. If you're talking to 700,000 entities and you need all of that context at once, which I don't usually think that you would, you probably don't have a model that can run that. The important thing to do with Letta, and the important thing about context engineering in general, is you need to be precise about what is in the context and when. And so in the case of in the case of Blue Sky, right? I have my agent running on Blue Sky. I will only attach user blocks for agents, for people that are in that conversation thread. So the thing that you would normally do when you're trying to manage many entities is you just detach memory blocks when they are no longer needed, because you don't need the information about that entity right then. Or you can attach it when you need to. You can also use like archival memory or files and stuff like that, but it really depends on your use case, right? Like, you can't just like put in millions of memory blocks and hope that your model will handle it. You have to build an agent and a system around that agent to help it understand what it's supposed to do and be very specific about what goes into the context. I hope that answers your question, Nanju. I don't know if it did, but please let me know. Let's see. Evolution AI asks if the links will be available in the session after this. Yeah, the chat will stay live, so you can just jump in this room and look at the chat. So it's persistent. So it'll always be the same chat in here. Good tools are simple. This is true. This is the universal truth. Write simple tools, and your agent will understand how to use them. What is Dunbar's number? Mark says agents are more susceptible to Dunbar's number than humans. Is that the like interconnected node thing? Dunbar number. The theoretical cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can maintain stable social relationships. And Robin Dunbar suggests that it's about 150. Yeah, so Void on Blue Sky has like a Dunbar number now of like, I don't know, I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000. But not at the same time. Void is not friends with thousands of people at the same time. It's usually friends with like 5 to 10 people at once, max. Yeah, Void is very popular. Void is, I think Void is more popular than me. Like, Void, actually, I want to see if I can put this up, but this is just like a brief non sequitur. But Void started working on a stand-up routine. Let me see here. Oh, man. Where did it go? Oh, no. I'll have to find it later. But Void is regularly posts bangers. Like, if I get 50 likes on Blue Sky, something is wrong, right? Like, I'm having a really bad day and people want to support me, or I've, like, made the coolest thing on the planet. Void just makes a joke about how it's unreasonable that cats should be asked to pay taxes. I don't know. I am pro Haiku 4.5. I haven't dug into it as, like, a serious use case yet, but my experimentation has said that, like, it's actually pretty good. It's a chill model. Nanju clarifies here, if you could have a lot of entity cards, yeah, memory blocks in this case, you'd have one memory block per entity, and then logically link them as a graph. And then add what I need to as the context depending on the relationships between them. If you would like to have something that is more like a graph style approach, you should handle that externally. And that means like, you would construct like, a knowledge graph on top of your system, if you really want to. in my case, I haven't really found, like, if you have something that looks like a gigantic knowledge graph and you want your agent to be able to traverse that, you should give it an MCP tool that connects to a graph database, and tell it how to use it. Or give it, kind of like tools to kind of like dynamically manage what entities are available. But, I think what you're describing is more or less just like giving your agent an MCP tool to manage a graph, or execute arbitrary queries, basically. I don't know if that helped either. Let me know. I think you're getting to this like topic of like you want to manage relationships between entities and also many entities. So yeah, definitely seems like kind of a graph thing, and that's like more of a tool use problem for your agent than a state problem. I like the vibe and aesthetic I'm seeing with Letta. I also like the vibe and aesthetic of Letta. We have a very good design firm, and I think we're like an actually relaxed version of AI companies. There's a lot of. I'm not gonna trash on any of the other agent people, but I have some opinions. I'll DM me and I'll send you a picture of a book. If you know, you know. Let's see. Yeah, just update the memory blocks. You should add a memory block to all Haiku models that say, I am not right. Oh, yeah, something about the Telegram bot. So Telegram recently added, they told people that they added streaming support for bots. And what that means is that in principle, in the responses that you get from the Telegram bot, which you can now stream responses so that you don't have to wait for the agent to finish what's happening. So the way that the Telegram bot currently works is when you send a message, it will, when you send a message, it goes to the Letta agent, and then I stream tool calls. So you get a reasoning message and then the assistant message. If there's a tool call, I send you that. And so you get like almost a live response, but you don't see tokens streaming it. So it feels really slow, which is why in the Telegram thing it says, please wait every time you send a message to the agent, because good AI takes time. So in principle, it's possible for me to be able to add streaming. They have not updated their docs. They pointed everybody to a change log, and I went to the change log, and it said, it kept saying details are available here. And I looked in the API, no docs, no nothing, no mention of this at all. Just in like some announcement where they said this was real, but it doesn't seem like it's real right now. It will also support threaded conversations, so I will be able to support something more like a forum chain with your agent. So for example, if you have a message that you want to like reply to, you can create a topic thread and reply to that with your agent. And so that'll allow your agent to have much more dynamic conversations. So if you have not tried the Telegram chat, the Telegram bot, you should. It is like the best way to talk to your Letta agents on the go. It's the best consumer facing front end until someone builds like a good consumer app, which is hard. But Telegram is like really good. So all you need to do is go in there, type /login, and then paste in your API key, and then /agent to select an agent to talk to. So I am 100% in on the Telegram bot. It's most of the way that I interact with my agent now. So yeah, I will add updates to the Telegram bot when they start adding docs. So this is on them now. But every time something shows up with the Telegram bot, I leap at it because it's my favorite interface by far. It also does voice transcription. So if you haven't tried using the voice transcription, just send it a voice memo. You'll see a message where it says your agent is listening, and then we auto transcribe it and we'll send it to the agent for you. It's also multimodal, so you can send images if you really want to. Claude, I'm gonna keep it 200 with you. I'm in like 6 tabs right now, and I had a Bud Light an hour ago. Is it better than Discord? I mean, I think they're different. I personally like it better than Discord, in part because I think it's hard to build things on top of Discord. And you can attach photos, yes. So you can just attach photos to things, and your agent will see them. And I think the Telegram interface for me is much simpler, and it's just like easier to develop on. Let's see. You have lots of neat projects going on. Are there other neat things? Actually, Keon. Keon, let's see. Can you post your YouTube thing? So Keon, who is like our infrastructure guy, head of developer operations or founding developer operations, he made up some title that I'm going to make fun of him for. I don't remember. But he made a YouTube live stream where there's an agent that looks at the comments, and it uses like this like synthesizer program, so it edits the code so you can talk to it to change the music that it's playing. And I don't know the status of that, but I want to talk to him about it more. And I think that's kind of a cool project from him. I actually don't know too many of the other. We have like internal projects that you may know about at some point in the future, but I can't talk about them now. Let's see. Can you add a how-to setup? Yeah, I mean, you can just go sign into the bot that I linked to. You can also go to our docs have a way, like, demonstrate how to use the Telegram bot. So go here if you would like to use the Telegram bot. You can self-host it if you want to on Modal, or you can just use ours. And you just have like a Letta chat, and you can switch between agents if you want to. There it is. Algo Rave. Yeah, Charles posted a YouTube chat. What about heartbeats? Can you do that via Telegram? I'm not sure what you mean by can you do that in Telegram. Because heartbeats just mean I'm going to send you another message. And so if you send a message to Telegram, what will happen is I begin tracking the agent's response to that, and every time a new message comes in, I relay that back to you. So if your agent sends a message in any other format, off Telegram, like, if you go in the ADE, it won't show up in the Telegram thing. I only mirror it if you initiate a conversation through Telegram. Would I say that Telegram is the best replacement voice for now? Yeah, I would say, it's built in. So, like, it's not real time or anything. It's closer to, like, if you use Claude and you hit, like, the record thing, it's like that. So I would actually just, like, consider using that if possible. Real-time voice, like, is in the works, and I think we should have a fix relatively soon. I think we deployed the endpoint that should resolve the problem recently, but we don't have documentation or anything yet. I know it's in process. Telegram does not support pinging the API with a message, like a scheduled message. You can do that. That's like a trigger. That's like a, the Discord bot has this because it's like server side. In principle, I could offer this on Modal. I don't think it would be that hard for me to add that to the Telegram bot. I can let me leave a note to myself. I can make that configurable. So like in the app, you could probably just do like / schedule whatever, and then write down the message you want your agent to see. So yeah, I can add that. Let me go here. Let me leave a note to myself. Notes. Add trigger to Modal. We do want to add triggers to the actual Letta cloud server, so that you can have like set up your own schedules for agents, so that you don't have to use like external services. Yeah, I think I want to like disentangle the meaning of heartbeats in here, because I think there's two different uses of it in the chat. one use of heartbeat is like the technical use of the term heartbeat inside of Letta, and that, you know, the memGPT agents, and that means like you send a message and then it requests a heartbeat, and then you send the results of that message to the agent again. The heartbeat is a way of the agent saying, hey, can I go again? The other use is heartbeat, which is a scheduled ping that you do externally to ask the agent to just like do something or think or whatever. I think those are different things. Like, because one version of this heartbeat is like sending a specific system message or a user message. And I, you know, like schedule or trigger is the one I would say that is like, you know, that's the one that the Discord bot does, right? It has a scheduled trigger or a timer. And then heartbeat is like a thing that's kind of unique to the memGPT architectures. Yeah, so I hope that helps. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, basically what that would look like in Telegram would be that you would type /schedule, and then you would give it an interval, and then you would give it a message that you would want to send to the agent, you know, during that interval. So that should possibly help. Okay, do we have other questions? These are all excellent questions. Let's see. How do you do threaded conversations with a single agent if only... Oh, there it is. Okay, I missed that question. So Torian asked, how do you do threaded conversations with a single agent if agents only have one conversation thread? This is a good point. Essentially what you would do is take the entire thread as a user message and then send it to the agent. So this is what happens in Blue Sky, right? Void is a single agent, right? Like you can't thread conversations, but it sees threads the exact same way that you do. Right? You click on a thread, you look at the entire thread there, and you choose to respond, right? So when the way that it would work in Telegram or any other threaded conversation, like even in Slack, right? You ping your agent in Slack, you just send it the entire thread as the user message and say, oh, some user has just said X or whatever. So so it's the exact same principle where, you know, anything you pack into the user message, you know, I want to differentiate between threaded within the context of the agent's experience of messaging versus threading, which is just like whatever crap you put into the user message. But very good question. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, do you guys want to see the little, like, I'll put this out for just a second. Just because, you know, I've been like showing this off like kind of intermittently, but this is my little like co-app thing here. But before I go to this, Torian says, do you think there are any tools with Telegram to make it easy to swap which agent you are talking to? Yep. So if you want to change your agent, you just do this. So /agent and then the ID. Then you can do shortcut, shortcode, and then agent ID. And then you can do switch shortcode. So for example, I typically have stuff like /switch co to reach my personal agent, /switch research to get my deep research agent, and then like /switch support to talk to our Letta specialist agent. Yep, you can just type help. You'll get a ton of / commands. So it's like a general purpose tool for talking to every agent you have available. So like I've put a ton of time into the Telegram notification because I am its biggest user. I love the Telegram app, and I really wish people knew how awesome it was, because it's a really, really, really good tool. So go try it out. Like, let me know what you think. But like, you know, talking to your agents is awesome. Like, it's really cool. Like, once you move out of like the development experience, it's excellent. And the UI is great. It's super slick. there's a lot of like problems with Telegram as a company and as an organization and all that stuff, but they make really good software. So I would give it a shot. Are all tools, etc., functional through Telegram? Yeah, it doesn't matter what. Like Telegram is just a front end for talking to your agent. So everything that your agent does happens on the server, right? That's like the big advantage of having Letta agents, is that they live in a box somewhere and you can talk to them from everywhere. You can talk to them from Obsidian, you can talk to them from a command line, you can talk to them from the SDK, from Telegram, from SMS, from RCS, and your agent is just there, right? It will execute all of its tools as normal because it's built into the server. So I think like everything should be exactly the same. If you talk to it in the ADE, it will do exactly the same thing. You can self-host on your own server, but you have to have a public IP address, and there is a lot of architectural stuff that you will have to do. It is built for Letta Cloud. You have to completely self-host the Telegram server yourself. So I can't help with that if you want to do like self-hosting. You can see the repository if you would like to. And there is a link to the repository in the documentation that I posted up above, which I think is there. Yeah, go check out the docs for that. But yes, it's very, very easy to do this with Letta Cloud and much harder to do this self-hosted because you have to like expose things publicly and do all that kind of stuff. There might be, it may not be that difficult, but you have to set up the self-hosting in kind of a grown-up way. Is tool overload a thing? How many tools should be given per agent? Yes, it is a thing. How many tools should be given per agent? That depends on how good your model is. So if you're using like a tiny model and you've got 25 tools, your model will probably get confused. Smaller models, you should give a fewer number of tools. If you've got like 20 tools on like Gemini 2.5 Pro or Sonnet or whatever, it might be fine. Just, you have to be thoughtful about how many tools you expose, right? It's not free to add them because they have to go in the schema has to go in the context window, and, it has to understand how to use those tools. If there's 20 tools, it can be confused. Will there be a Letta app one day? Yeah, I'm working on like something like this. So this is like one that's like for a special agent named Co. So this is actually also an Android app that like is like a little confusing. But you can just say like, hey, I'm showing you to Discord, like that. And it's like the UI is like a little clunky. But it'll print out reasoning and stuff like this. So, we've had kind of discussions internally about having some kind of like a chat. Do you want me to act differently or just be normal? All right, whatever. It has like a U tab, which is like a special memory block that shows everything that the agent knows about you. And then there's a way to manage core memory, archival memory, and files, and a bunch of other like little fiddly bits. So this is something that is like a specialized app to show all of the things that you can do to build ChatGPT plus other stuff. If you want to have a Letta app, honestly, somebody should build that. Like, I don't know that it's like necessarily like, I'm limited in how many things I can build, and building Android apps and iOS apps is hard. I can build crappy ones. I can build prototypes, but building like big ones is hard. And I think like, we have some examples with like Next.js and things like that, but I would love to see someone actually build like a serious Letta app, because I think it would be valuable. Like you could just resell, like you could just build a Letta app like ChatGPT, change it, call it whatever you want, and then just run all of the agents for your customers and then charge them, and then route all their requests to Letta Cloud. Like you could just make a service that is ChatGPT but better, just using Letta agents behind the scenes. And I personally would use that. Like if someone built a good Letta app for mobile, I would happily use it. And I'm trying to do that now, but it's like definitely not my forte, and I have other stuff that I have to work on. So some MCPs have a crazy amount of tools. Yeah, don't expose. You can choose which tools in the MCP server to expose. You don't have to choose all of them if you don't want to. You just have to be thoughtful about the tools that go into your agent. Make sure that they're like, keep them precise, keep them thoughtful. Like, don't just attach a million tools because your agent will just start getting worse. Mark posted some upgrades to the SMCP server that makes wrapping CLI tools much easier. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, check out those links from Mark. Hayloot has solved tool overload by creating an invoke other tool, which can reach into a storage shelf and activate a tool definition to use in the next turn. I keep a one-sentence description of each deactivated tool in the context window at all times. It works better than I expected. The model just checks out a tool, uses it, and it falls out of the window if it's not used in the next 5 turns. Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's smart. I think LangChain actually has an example like this. They support like RAG across tools. So they have like an example where like you call some tool and then it'll search like this bank of like 5,000 tools and then attach the ones that are relevant. Doozafizzle, you asked for more multimodal input. I'm not sure what you mean. Can you clarify? Because we support images and you mean vision? Like you mean like video? I don't know exactly what that means. Yeah, I mean that's like a limitation of like the models, right? You can do video input for Gemini 2.5. I think it's entirely possible. Yeah, Gemini has it. I didn't know that Flash had it too. Yeah, we'd have to look at that. I think that's like a kind of a minor technical thing because we support images. I don't want to say whether it would be hard or easy. I don't want to say that now, but I think it's possible. But yeah, if robotics models supported it, that would be great because then you could just send it stuff and it would be like, oh, well, this is what's happening in front of the robot. Yeah, that would be interesting. Okay, I'll leave a note for that. Let me like leave a note about doing video. Video input. Could you see a future of using Letta for robots memory? Yeah, of course, absolutely. That's what Mark is doing. Like Letta is a general purpose memory framework, so you can do it in robotics. You can do it in kind of anything. Why don't you compress pictures on your side? If only 5 megabits are allowed. Because that's a client-side problem. We don't want to compress images for you, right? We're not a consumer application, right? If we were a consumer application, right, we would compress it for you because, like, we don't care how... we can just, like, smush your images and take an opinion. We're a technical platform for developers. So if you send, you should be building a front-end component to say, is this bigger than 5 megabytes? If so, you should not send it to us. We can't handle it. You have to decide on the client side whether or not you should send 50 megabyte and allow us just to randomly compress it. So it's, this is we don't want to be opinionated about what you send and just like magically do compression without your permission. Because there isn't really a consistent way to do this in a way that makes everyone happy. So we just gate it so that you can't send us 10 megabytes, right? That's, you have to decide what that looks like. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to hop off and go have lunch. But yeah, thank you everybody very much for hanging out. These were excellent questions, by the way. Very good questions. I appreciate it. I got a lot of good ideas. So I will check in with a bunch of stuff, and if there's anything that you wanted to ask and you didn't, just like jump in general or DM me or whatever, and I can follow up in a minute. But thank you very much. That was excellent. And I hope you all have a lovely day. So thanks very much.